achieve what you need to achieve in God's name. All you have to do is believe, because I promise you, I'm sitting here right now because somebody believed in me before I believed in myself. And through all the adversity, through all the difficulty, I decided to just continue to believe. I decided to continue to believe. So as you all are standing, let's review the scripture for today. John 9. John 9. This is a powerful scripture. And I'm probably going to jump around a little bit because I just feel like I'm just really inspired today. It's just it's a lot going on. It's been a trying time for me. It's been a trying time for probably some of you all too, but we're still here. Amen.
Amen. Yes.
Let us read together. Now as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus answered, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is the day. The night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he said these things, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and he said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam. So he went and washed and came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who previously had seen that he was blind said, is not this he who has sat and begged? Some said, this is he. Others said, he is like him. He said, I am he. Therefore they said to him, how were your eyes open? He answered and said, a man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said to me, go to the pool of Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and I received sight. Then they said to him, where is he? He said, I do not know. Church, let's pray real quick. God, allow me to speak. Allow me to be used as your vessel. Pray that we all open up and receive this word so that we may enrich our lives and, more importantly, enrich the lives of other people, Lord. Allow us to be used and submit ourselves to your will and understand that the things that we need to achieve is not just for ourselves, it's for your will, Lord. It's for the betterment of your kingdom. In the name of Jesus, amen. Amen. So what I want to ask you all is, you all can be seated. I want to ask you all, what will it take for you to go to the water and wash the mud out? What is it going to take for you to realize that in this country, every single one of us were born blind? We were born blind, whether you be black, brown, white, Asian, whatever. You were born blind just off proxy, just the way this country is established. Let's review it real quick. Native Americans who were here first had their land taken in the most heinous of ways. Every generation born after that, born blind. No way for them to see what their life used to be. Europeans who migrated here from poverty, who came to America in search of a better world. Every generation born after that, majority in poverty, were born blind. They were told they were white. No recollection of where they came from. African people chained together, placed on the bottom of a ship, thrown at the bottom of a ship. Got the tongues gotten rid of, culture eradicated, forced to come to a new land where they were forced to learn a completely different language. Every generation after that, born blind. So the question is, what will it take for us as a people to realize we were born blind? Mud was thrown into our eyes, and then we stopped. Jesus said, go wash the mud out. But we stopped. So I'm curious, church, what is it going to take for us collectively as people, all people from all walks of life, to realize that it was supposed to happen? See, when you're placed in this situation, here's a funny thing that happens, especially when you come from somebody who's from my background. People say, oh, they must be cursed. They just can't seem to get by. Trial after trial, tribulation after tribulation. What's wrong with them? They asked right there, Jesus, isn't it his fault? Did he sin? Jesus said, no. It's so that the works of God can be shown. You are placed in your situation, church, right now. So you can be a living testimony for how great God is. If I'm a personal trainer, do I get any glory if you come in there swole already? I need you to come in scrawny because I have to prove to the world and prove to myself how great I am. And here's what's funny, y'all. I just always find this interesting. We always say that we, New Year, new me, New Year's resolution, and we want to get strong. We're going to go to the gym all the time. We're going to lift the weights. We get the headband. We get the bag. You know what I'm saying? We pose it in the mirror. We update our Instagrams every 5 seconds telling people, yeah, I'm working out. I'm getting it in. We set the camera down, putting it on the timer so we can show people what we're doing. We work hard. We got our shake. I do the same thing. Talking to myself too. And then after that, we walk around like this because we all sore, looking in the mirror, reflecting, just trying to see if the results coming through. And you know that hurts for a reason. You're actually happy that you hurt. You're proud that you hurt. But conversely, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, when we go through something that's a lot worse for some reason, oh God, why would you put me through this, God? Why would you forsake me? But I thought you wanted to be great. Isn't that what God is saying? I thought you wanted to be great. I thought you wanted me to reveal your purpose, right? I thought you wanted me to reveal my purpose through you. But now that I put you through something that you can't immediately see the physical results, there's an issue. So, church, what is it going to take for us to go to the water? See, I was born blind, and what's ironic about me even speaking on this weekend is so 4 years ago, before I even started public speaking, my mom asked me in January 2016, she said, I want you to speak May 2016. She gave me like 4 or 5 months notice. And she should have, because I looked at her like she was crazy. And I'm like, me, I teach, like you don't want me to speak, right? I'm not sure what you're talking about. What am I going to possibly say to people? And I said, Mom, what do you need to know? She said, let me know by April. I was like, bet. It took every single day from January to April to figure out. And I said yes just because, I can't say no to my mom, right? So I said, yeah, I'll figure something out, right? And then, concurrently, that same month, I remember sitting at a professional development meeting with my mom. With my wife. And we're sitting there listening to this speaker named Brian Miller. He's an education speaker. He was talking for like 4 or 5 hours, just talking. And I was sitting there the whole time, both of us just like enthralled by his ability to keep us captive. And then my wife Cassie nudged me and she's like, you can do that. And I was blind. I had too much mud in my life. I had told myself so many times that I could never do something like that. As a matter of fact, I actually went and picked up the mud myself and put it in my eyes and said, ain't no way I can do that. What you talking about? Me, the shy Ernest from 128th and Sangamon, speak in front of a crowd? 4 years later, my mom said, I need you to speak in January. I said, bet, let's go in. What's up? She said, pick the day. I said, ooh, Dr. King holiday. I needed that one. Because what better weekend to speak life into people? Because I love my culture, I love my history, so I'm always looking for an opportunity to relate the word to what we did and what Dr. King did. So look, check this out. Y'all know you don't really understand this, but Dr. King, because I said everybody born in this country is blind because we are made to think that we're supposed to go against each other. That's the big deception because it works that way. If we're blind, the people at the top who can see are the ones that profit off us walking around like this, y'all. We bump into each other. And then when we bump into each other, when we blind, we take out our fists to fight. And they selling the tickets. They selling the tickets. How much is it out for pay-per-view? Was it $100 now? Okay. So check this out. Dr. King was born blind. But what it takes for you to actually see is you have to understand that you have to want to go to the water, but it's easier if you have somebody in your life that has gone to the water already. They can give you direction. So Dr. King was born to somebody, of course, it was Martin Senior. Senior. And his father was someone who could never really take the abuse that black people were victim to. He saw his father getting abused on a plantation. One particular time, he saw his father getting abused and he couldn't deal with it because he saw his father getting cheated out of money. His father was a sharecropper because slavery was over, but slavery wasn't really over if you catch my drift. So he told him, like, Dad, like, are you going to get your money? He's talking out in front of the person who owns the property. He's talking out in support of his dad. His dad's like, put your head down, just keep working. And the man is like, quiet that little nigga child. His father refused to stand up for him. And Dr. King's father declared on that day that he would never in his life let himself become victim to that. He would never let his kids seek that type of oppression. And if they did, he would let them know that they were supposed to fight. And fight they would. See, he decided on that day, this was funny, y'all. He decided on that day as a child that he would give birth to a Dr. King.
All right.
You understand that, y'all?
Yeah.
He decided before Dr. King was even born that he would give birth to somebody who had even more courage than him, that would be able to go to the water and take the mud out of his eyes the same way the mud was taken out of his eyes so he can see and lead an entire generation. Dr. King was assassinated at the age of 39.
Yeah. Wow.
Like at the age of 39, that was 52 years ago. So his legacy has already outlived his physical life.
Yeah.
Because he decided to go down to the water, take the mud out, and see clearly. But Dr. King was slightly different than his father, though. He wasn't that aggressive. He wasn't that abrasive. See, he had a couple situations that began to shed the mud, though. When Dr. King was growing up, between the ages of about 3 and 6, he had a very close friend of his. He grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Atlanta. His friend was white. They had a lot of fun together. They played all the time outside. But, as America would have it, because everybody's born blind here, they decided that these two kids, they can't play together anymore. Why? Because their skin color is different. Dr. King at 6 years old didn't know what to do. He was already dejected. He was already taught that in America that meant you're supposed to go to the back because you're not as good as them. It wasn't just that though. Dr. King, when he was 8 years old, he was slapped and called nigger simply because he accidentally stepped on a white woman's foot. 8 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old. Around that same time, Dr. King actually saw the KKK beat a man senseless. This is all happening before the age of 10. He saw the cops beat a man unconscious. He would walk down the street at certain times of his life, y'all, and see bodies hanging like ornaments off a Christmas tree. But here's the thing, y'all. Dr. King was no different than anybody else during that time. Talk to anybody during that time and they thought the same thing. And remember what I said, Dr. King was born to a middle-class family. So it's likely that he had not seen the furthest extent to how brutal that system of racism can be. But he still made a decision based on his perspective, based on what he experienced, that I can't let my people deal with this anymore. But it wasn't just him. Remember what I said too. His father made the decision beforehand that Dr. King would go down that path. See, he sees these bodies hanging, so he's placed in the mud. Because the first point is, y'all, what is the mud that you're dealing with in your life? What is it that you've been exposed to over and over again that you're taking as the worst possible thing? God is actually trying to say this is going to be the best possible thing because one day your church is going to have a testimony period. You're going to be able to walk down and see somebody in the trial and tribulation. The issue is so many times we get stuck in that mud. Dr. King was able to see that there's a better life. When he was at Morehouse College, this was funny too, doing research on Dr. King. I love finding out these things about historical figures. Dr. King graduated high school early, right? 15, 16 years old. He goes to Morehouse. Dr. King only got 1 A his entire time at Morehouse College. And as a teacher, that's inspiring to me because we always get down on these kids for not getting certain grades. But he got 1 A. 1 A. Look at him right now. You know, look at people like Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman could not read. She couldn't read. She couldn't write. People would say, in my profession, we need to assign her to an IEP. She has to read stats. She's just not getting it. She doesn't know how to sit still. She keeps running out of class. She's going towards the exit. Get her. Sometimes we judge people, we don't understand what their destiny is. We see what they are, but God sees what they're supposed to be. Dr. King's father decided at that point in time as a child that he would give birth to a Dr. King. See, the mud is in your eyes. It's causing you to be blind, but you have to be able to see the vision. You have to be able to see clearly through it all and see that one day I'll be able to wash out and see these things. See, Dr. King went through all of that. He saw the light one day when he was working in Connecticut. So he's at Morehouse. He needed some money. He goes to Connecticut to work on a plantation. When he's off, he and his friends go to Connecticut in the city, and he sees black and white people frolicking together having fun. He's like, wow, this is pretty cool. Because maybe he's seeing what should have become of his friend in a prior life, right? And he sees, well, maybe this is what I should be striving for because we're actually treated how people should be treated. It seems to be equal. So as Dr. King goes through this transformation, he begins to wash himself of of everything that he was experiencing, washing the mud out of his eyes, he begins to see the reality of what the situation was. Because when you're trapped in that situation and you're blind again, church, you think that it's your fault. You think you did something. But I want to ask you a question real quick. How many of you all chose the family you would be born into? How many of you all chose the year you would be born into? How many of you all chose your parents, your skin color, your hair, your height, your width? How many of you all chose the grade of hair? How many of y'all chose your personality type? See, we're working with something that was given to us by God. We don't have a choice in the matter. We are just working through what God has gifted us with. We receive the gift, and sometimes we open it and we look at it like, oh, what is this? Surely there's something else under here. When somebody give you the gift bag and you keep going through the paper, it's got to be something else. Let me just turn this upside down. That's what you're supposed to have. Dr. King was given a life that most people would say, oh, that's a cursed life to have. How many Americans have holidays? How many individuals have holidays? It used to be George Washington, but that was President's Day. He was a president, so I get it. Christopher Columbus, and he wasn't American, so there's legitimately one person that has a holiday. Dr. King, 39 years. So as he begins to wash his face and wash his eyes, and he begins to see the reality, I'm going to bring up something very important during this time, y'all, because the second point is you have to watch. When you wash the mud out, what are the problems that you see? What type of clarity is revealed now? He saw separate education, right? Separate facilities, separate water fountains, separate bathrooms. Go around to the back. You can't go through here. Doctors and nurses that couldn't treat black people. It was illegal for a white nurse or a white doctor in certain towns, in certain states, to treat a black person. You could have had the best intentions. You could be born blind and you can say, I see what's right. You could want to help all people out, but then the system that's blind on purpose will tell you, if you see him as an equal, we'll punish you. If you decide to have sight, we'll make sure you go permanently blind. Separate restaurants, separate parks. I love taking my kids to Maggie Daly Park. I love taking my kids to parks, just let them run around and have fun till they fall out. You finally get that silence right there. But can you imagine a time when that was the norm? Church, I give you this, right? That was the norm back then. We look back and we shake our heads, but there are some norms right now that we have accepted. There are some norms that exist right now that we have batted an eye to. Again, I'm a history teacher. The school, the prison pipeline. How are we funneling our kids through education? The same system that's telling your child that they are not smart enough or not bright enough or they are a little slow is the same system, as I said before, when it's over here, you're telling the same thing. Yeah. Because intellect, y'all, there's no, to me, okay, check it out. You can be smart and not know how to read in English or speak in English. Okay? English, learning that is a skill. Intellect is a form of thought. You can be a philosopher. You can think about something. You can imagine, like, the most intelligent person to me in a room is a person that can envision something that does not exist right there. Somebody who's too smart would say, well, that's not possible because according to the calculation that we have here and according to the laws of physics, that just can't be. It's a smart dummy then. How many people would have told her that she was crazy? How many people told Dr. King that he was crazy? Dr. King didn't even want to be nonviolent, y'all. He felt that that was the best method to get freedom for all, but he struggled with it like any of us would. Dr. King wanted to protect his family. Dr. King didn't want to turn the other cheek, but Dr. King said, well, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for the greater good. So he sees this. He sees that black and whites can't even have a relationship together. He sees people in separate parts. He sees people being fined and placed in jail for reading or just simply trying to vote. There was a point in time in history where if you were a white person that taught a black person to read, you could get fined. If you were a black person reading, you can get killed. They want you to be blind. Because although there's not, to me, a direct correlation between just knowing how to read in English and being intelligent, there are some things you'll find in the book that will set you free and could change your frame of thought. So imagine that combination. Imagine that being what they would do for the vast majority is they would just read certain parts out of context and make you think that the Bible told you to be a slave.
Come on now, man.
Notwithstanding and understanding the fact that this book is being translated to a completely different language, so what is actually meant when it says obey your master? Right. And we don't have that context and we don't understand until somebody can break it down for us. So they just show you that part. Then you learn how to read it. You see, oh, this is what it says. That's what Moses did. Then you have Harriet Tubman, again, what they call Moses. See, Dr. King, when he washed his eyes out, he was able to see all these different things that just did not make sense. Couldn't vote, couldn't get an education, doctors couldn't treat us, separate facilities, redlining, the creation of ghettos in America, the creation of impoverished situations. Because when I hear my students and other people talk about something that's so ghetto, I mean, are you talking about the government creation of poverty for black and brown people in this country? That's all I know. We didn't go to a neighborhood and say, I think we'll start some crime right here. Yeah, I don't think we want to have a good restaurant over there. No, don't bring that fresh food over here. We don't want resources. These things were created. Started in the 40s for this, and you can still see the situation right now. I just saw a news story from Houston, and they said that, I think there was a newspaper that went undercover, and they saw that the disparity between the homes that black and brown and Asian people show compared to white people still exists to this day. To this day. So we saw it back then, oh man, thank God somebody did something. But then in this day and age, we get the mud, and then sometimes we'll wash it out, and then we'll just shake our head and say, wow, that's sad. Poor folks over there. I hope it gets better. But if you look at the text, something important happens towards the end. The blind man is asked, how can you see now? How is it possible that you can see? You were just blind. It's like that dude, Jesus, is cold, y'all. I don't know where he went. But he hooked the brother up. See, at that point right there, once you can see, how selfish of you not to tell the world how it is that you can see? How selfish of you not to let everybody know the reason why it is that you have vision, and not just that, break it down to them step by step by step how you got to that process, because we always see the success, and we say overnight success, they just blew up, they just got lucky. But you didn't see all the nights they had to fight and struggle. You didn't see that Dr. King was being sent death threats all the time. The FBI told him to kill himself. They said he was the most dangerous American at this point in time, and he said, don't touch anybody. Don't hurt anybody. And that was a threat to them, because he saw, and he began to unite people all together, and for the people who actually saw their profit motive diminishing, that was a threat. Because we can't have all the people at the bottom actually seeing each other as equals, right? They're washing the mud out their eyes. So Dr. King told the world. Dr. King kept marching. Dr. King kept talking. And Dr. King kept telling everybody about the glory of God and the glory of Jesus. And on his very last speech, something I still listen to this day, he said, I've seen the mountaintop. And I may not get there with you. Can you imagine the type of vision he had to say, I may not get there with you, but I saw it already. And we as a people will get there. If you look at the video, he almost collapsed after he said it. It was symbolic and metaphoric to me. Every time I hear him say that, I get chill bumps. He saw it. He had a vision. And I'm telling y'all, look, he's no different than us. He just submitted to his will. I didn't grow, like I wanted to play in the NBA. That's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But God had other plans. And when I began to walk in what God actually wanted for me, things became clearer. I began to see, oh, now it begins to make sense. Now I understand why I was frustrated when I was doing this. That wasn't my element. Again, I saw the gifts, but I pushed it to the side for a long time. Yo, I remember growing up and going to Covenant, and I'm like, how in the world can those 10, 11, 12 high schoolers get up there and preach on junior deacons? That would never be me. God is funny, right? See, Dr. King began to tell the world. He talked about Jesus. And here's what happened, y'all. As he began to tell the world about how they were disobeying God's laws, he was arrested nearly 30 times. Let Fox News tell it, he was a criminal, he was a thug. They had this mugshot everywhere. It'd be retweeted 1,000 times. They bring up all his rap sheet. They say, yeah, he got arrested for speeding. Oh, the criminal. He was going 5 over the limit. He's inciting riots. He's protesting. He's a criminal. He's stealing money from the government, and he improperly filed taxes. I'm sure they can find anything wrong with any one of our taxes. All of this began around 1956. For my historians in the building, what concluded in 1956? The Montgomery bus boycott. So now he's a target. This young dude is 25 years old, leading all these people to freedom. He's taking the money out of our pocket, because that's our whole thing right there. We need y'all to be against each other for money. Now we got to get this guy out of here. Arrested for loitering. Something that still happens when your boys just hanging out on the corner, just walking around. Maybe you walk to the store and you just stop for a second. You might get bothered. You got arrested for disobeying police.
That's right.
He got arrested for sitting down. I'm sorry, they call it sit-in. But he was just sitting down and demanded that he get treated equally. But here's the thing, right? Dr. King said something powerful. That we have a moral obligation to disobey unjust laws. Now, it was clear back then. It was clear. Now it's a little bit convoluted, because we're like, what do you mean? I'm not saying go out there and go crazy, but I'm saying when I work as a teacher, the law, the code of conduct will say, you start the class with the bell ringing. Kids come in, they sit down, they hold their hands, they wait for the teacher. Class, there's a bell ringer. I go sit down, I take attendance, I come back up. Who would like to go over the bell ringer? Me. Call the child, they answer it, they don't get it wrong. We do work in between middle of the class. They sit there peacefully. Nobody takes their phone out. They do their work. Towards the end of class, okay, it's time for an exit ticket. They take out the paper, they answer it, they walk out. Everybody's happy. But that's not the reality, y'all. That's what see, the code of conduct when you go to college is you have to teach this, and this. But then I began to teach in my community, people who look like me, people who are impoverished, and I'm saying, but this ain't connected to them. Why am I teaching them about this man all the time when they can't even get food on their table? Why am I teaching them how great Christopher Columbus was and George Washington was and Thomas Jefferson when they don't understand why they're in their current situation, or they don't understand that these very individuals are the reason why they are in their predicament? Why am I teaching them about the greatness of America when most of us have never ever seen it, except that we were the so-called exception? So I began to break the law. I began to teach to my students. They said, we got to get these test scores up. I said, that don't matter to them. They just want to see another day.
That's right, man.
How was it? What was Dr. King's SAT score? What was Ida B. Wells' SAT score? How many colleges accepted Harriet Tubman? Then Mark Vesey. What school did he get accepted to? Why do we care so much about these numbers when our kids are trying not to be the number that's lined up against the wall?
That's right.
So I had to make that decision. I'm going there, we're just going to talk for the first 5 minutes. That's our bell ring. How you feeling today?
That's right. Yeah.
These kids dealing with trauma. These kids dealing with more stress than you can ever imagine. Because we can't imagine it because we weren't subjected to it. I didn't have social media when I was in school. By the time we had social media, I was in college, and we had to go home, open up our laptop, log on, and then we would get access to it. And if we wanted to upload a photo, we had to take out our digital camera, hook it up to the USB port, and then we could only do 10 pictures at a time. But these kids are walking around all the time with these devices like this. I saw an article that said that black children are exposed to racial discrimination 5 times a day. And I'm like, 5 times a day? Then that would mean that if Dr. King was around, that means that he would just randomly walk to white areas just to get beat upside the head. And I'm sure he didn't do that all the time. I'm pretty sure he was very strategic. So he can go home and be peaceful with his family and still realize a problem. But our kids will take out their phone, and as soon as they go to a comment section, N-word this, N-word that. They can go on Snapchat and see somebody talking about them too. They can go on, I guess it's TikTok now, maybe see somebody making another disparaging remark, or see a meme about them. Because this article said that they're exposed because social media overexposes them. Yep. I mean, there was a story in Naperville where this young man was a freshman. He was sitting in class chilling, and a his white student took a picture of him and said, African for sale. Posted it on Snapchat, posted it on Craigslist. Wow. Imagine all the kids. But then here's the kicker.
That's right.
Where's the hospital for our kids? They go right back to a class that's telling them America is exceptional in every single way. And I'm not saying there aren't any exceptional things about America. There are some great things. We are the great things. Yeah. But we don't learn about that. Yeah. We don't learn about what we actually had to overcome. Because when they're taught about how great so-and-so was, then they're taught that they also own 400 slaves. And we're not taught about the people who persevered. We're not taught about the fact that this American system would not be what it is today unless it was us who set the tone. See, Dr. King was arrested nearly 30 times because he decided to go against the system because he wasn't following their laws. Look, these laws were put in place by an evil spirit that had inhabited human beings to say, this is all you need is money and wealth. But Dr. King said, well, I'm going to obey the law. I'm going to obey God's laws. And God has a lot of laws. There are some universal laws that we all understand. Cause and effect, right? Because you do something, there will be effects, right? You know, what goes around comes around. Some people will call that karma. As above, so below. But the one law that Dr. King made sure he followed was what we call universal oneness. Or, as God says in the Bible, love me with all your heart. And then right after that, love your neighbors as you love me, as you love yourself.
Yes.
So if I see a law that's out of accordance with that, then this is not a God law. This is an inhumane law. So he committed himself day in and day out to love God with all his heart and love people with all his heart. And for some reason, because he washed out the mud and he was able to see and tell the world, that made him a target. See, the issue we have today now is that everybody's scared now because of that. But the issue is, there was just one of them. That's the problem. But what if every one of us walked into our Dr. Kings? What if every single one of us realized that our success is dependent upon the person who is next to me? See, I go through my Facebook sometimes and I just see everybody saying, oh yeah, black people this, white people this, the Democrats this, Republicans this. And I'm like, that's what they want you to do. And I'm like, there's definitely bad people in each single group. But what we have now realized is, and I promise you, we have way more in common than we have different. But because most of our exposure to other people comes from these devices, these televisions, we begin to see the division, not what brings us together. You know what's interesting, y'all? So we just got a new TV recently, right? And there's this new thing they call, right? It's the 4K TV, 4K. And here's what's interesting about a television or any type of picture. Television or a picture is made up of thousands upon thousands, millions upon millions of tiny little pixels. And they say with these 4K images, they're sharper and clearer than the others because they have 4 times as many pixels as previous versions, 8 million total now. So what happens is, the more pixels your image has, the clearer it is. All right? So what that means is, more pixels, we're talking about a formula, equals a clearer image. Less pixels will equal a blurry image. Now check this out. You ever watch like a movie from like, let's say, we can even say now the 2000s. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that being in the 2020s. The 2010s, the 90s, the 80s. You ever look at those movies on TV and you're like, hey, what was we watching back then? This stuff is bogus, right? That's because they have less pixels. See, now our vantage point, because we can see clearly now, is 4K imaging. So less pixels equals a blurry image. Less people united means a blurry image for what we're supposed to do in God's court, right? Here's what happens too. You can have all these pixels, all 8 million, but if just one's missing, you begin to notice something's off. It's a little distorted. You might notice another one at the bottom. This ain't really looking right.
Right.
And another one in the middle. Another one over there, right? See, we might see a TV screen that might have people of all different groups, right? And it's a clear image. When you take out single pixels, what happens is there's no clarity. They begin to do their own thing. That's where we are right now, church. We're born blind. We're thrown into mud. We wash it out. We forget to tell the world. We need to understand that we are the 4K image when we come together as one. Right? And just to give y'all a little perspective, I always like to close it out with this. Sometimes when we call in this word, right, we forget how far we've come. And I saw this, I give credit, because I'm a history teacher, so I have to understand, I have to cite my sources. So I saw this on Facebook. But I want y'all to understand, this right here is powerful because it gives you an entire synopsis of what we've been through as people. Because sometimes we're blind because we don't have the vantage point of what we were before then. Every single one of us comes from something that was separate from America. But again, when we came here, we were taught, you need to be blind and follow my lead. So this passage says, so you mean to tell me that someone down your ancestry line survived being chained to other human beings for several months in the bottom of a disease-infested ship during the Middle Passage, lost their language, customs, and traditions, picked up the English language as best they could while working free of charge from sunup to sundown as they watched babies sold from out of their arms and women raped by ruthless slave owners, took names with no last names, no birth certificates, no heritage of any kind, braved the Underground Railroad, survived the Civil War to enter into sharecropping, learned to read and write out of sheer will and determination, faced the burning crosses of the KKK, averted their eyes at the black bodies swinging from ropes hung on trees, fought in world wars as soldiers to return to America as boys, marched in Birmingham, hosed in Selma, jailed in Wilmington, assassinated in Memphis, segregated in the South, ghettoed in the North, ignored in history books, stereotyped in Hollywood, and in spite of it all, someone in your family line endured every era to make sure you would get here and you receive one rejection, you face one obstacle, you lose one friend, get overlooked, and you want to quit? How dare you entertain the very thought of quitting? People you will never know, will never meet, survive from generation to generation so you can succeed. Yes. Don't you dare let them down. Yes. So with that said, Holly Knight, Melody Seaton, I love you. Thank you for doing everything you did.